Welcome to Pragati Vichar Literature Festival 2025. And today's session is on Seeds of Wellness Building a Foundation for Happiness and Longevity. And the theme for today is Building Resilience Through Literature. Joining us are three extraordinary individuals whose works and experiences have had a profound impact in their fields. And first on the panelist, we have Mr. Kishore Asthana. Mr. Kishore Asthana is an engineer and an alumnus of the Indian Institute of Management. He was with the Tata Administrative Services and then spent 26 years in Oman. At the time of voluntary returning to India in 2004, he was the group vice chairman for the group owned by Syed Asad Tariq Taimur, the brother of the Sultan of Oman. Mr. Asthana has read and mulled the holy books of all the major faiths and has made a special study of the Upanishads and the Gita. He has constantly tried to present a rational view of Sanatana Dharma. Number of his articles towards this quest have been published in the Speaking Tree column of the Times of India. He has been meditating for many decades and has had some wonderful spiritual experiences. He has mentioned those in the books of Living in Contentment and Dying Serene. Swami Paramatma Nandaji is a senior director discipline of Swami Dayananda Saraswati ji and founder Acharya of Arsha Vidya Mandir. He has this to say about Mr. Asthana. Kishore Asthana has lot of punya karma and some brought forward sanskaras that have brought a 180-degree turn around in him. He is blessed and among the few chosen ones whose thoughts are resonated by with truth that everyone misses knowing in general. Next on the panel, we have Miss Damini Grover, author of Times to Come Home, Sowing the Seed of Self-Love for Lasting Happiness. Ms. Damini Grover is a counseling psychologist, life coach, and founder of I Am Powered Center for Counseling and Wellbeing in Delhi, India. With a decade of experience in mental and emotional health, she uses an eclectic therapeutic approach to empower clients globally. Damini has received prestigious awards, including the Spiritual Leader Award 2020 and the Best Mental Health Solution Provider 2022. Her articles have appeared in leading publications such as the Elephant Journal, The Statesman, The Guardian, The Deccan Chronicle, reflecting her passion for personal growth and empowerment. Beyond her personal pursuits, Damini is an avid reader, writer, and dance enthusiast, inspiring others on the journey of self discovery. Next, on the panel, we have Dr. Shuvendu Sen, author of The Fight Against Alzheimer's: How to Prevent, Cure, Care, and Find Hope. A physician, writer, and recipient of the Lifetime Achievement Award from the White House, United States, Dr. Shuvendu Sen is the New York Times published author of Amazon bestseller The Fight Against Alzheimer's: How to Prevent, Cure, Care, and Find Hope, Rupa Publications 2024, and Why Buddha Never Had Alzheimer's, a holistic treatment approach through meditation, yoga, and arts. Published and marked by HCI, Simons, and Schwitzers. That received the 2017 United Nations Nautilus Award and translated into French and Italian. Endorsed by the Times of India, Indian Museum, and the CNN, The Fight Against Alzheimer's has been an Amazon bestseller holding the top 5 rank in the medical health section. The Governor House of Maharashtra released a documentary on Dr. Sen's work that has been screened at the United Nations and the Cannes Film Festival 2024. As a multi awarded, nationally and internationally respected physician with peer reviewed publications, chapters, books to his credit, Dr. Sen has made notable contributions in the fields of academics, medicine, and advocacy. Dr. Sen holds a column for The Telegraph and periodically writes for the Times of India. His stories, poems, articles have been appeared in many prestigious prints and online journals, media, including the New York Times, the Daily News, the Star Ledger, the Telegraph, the Times of India, Statesman, Women's Alzheimer's Movement, BBC UK, yoga magazines, counselors, magazines, amongst others. Um, With such diverse expertise on the table, I'm really curious and inspired by each one of your works. And just, I would want to know that, what was that moment or the thing that, sparked that journey within each of you? So let's start with Dr. Sen.
I mean, the journey probably started subconsciously in my younger days. Um, when it comes to Alzheimer's, I mean, I have to pick up one stream of thought. Um, when I was very young, my grandmother and we had a very special bond. And she was a scholar during those days, at a time when the women were measured by how well they have raised their children. My grandmother was an out-and-out writer, a scholar, tremendous aptitude, wrote books for colleges, and took part in the freedom fight against the British. And then one day, we lost her. She just wandered away. And when we rescued her, I was very young then, she had no cognition, no recognition of herself, of her surroundings, and very importantly, about me. I was a favorite. Back in those days, the concept of Alzheimer's was just beginning to evolve. But I wondered, how could a woman with such scholarly aptitude, with such tremendous intellect, could turn into a vegetable within a span of few days? Now, 40, 50 years down the road, we still have the same question. So this is a disease, this is a disorder which is only waiting in the wings to become another pandemic. We are talking about COVID, we are talking about all other types of viruses and bacteria. But when it comes to Alzheimer's, it's going to get worse because we are living longer. We have done, tremendously well in terms of diabetes and high blood pressure and
Yes.
high cholesterols. So we don't use the word 85-year-old. I tell my junior doctors to drop the word old. I say 85-year young, 91 years young, you know. But the brain has to keep pace with the rest of the body. And I'm not saying it's easy, but it's manageable to tackle diabetes and strokes and heart attack. But the brain, it needs much more than medicine. I've got stalwarts here who would take it away from me in terms of meditation, in terms of yoga and everything. So that has been one side of the journey I have been very attracted to. And then one thing led to the other. I came to this country and I started my medicine and I started my research and my concentration on Alzheimer's. I'll stop here and I'll let the other speakers speak.
Yeah, sure. So, Kishore sir, how did you get to write this book and how did you have?
Well, uh, first of all, let me say how chuffed up I am to be on the panel with eminent people like Dr. Sen and Ms. Grover. It's truly an honor.
Well,
Uh,
likewise.
I have been a lifelong manager, as you know, from IIM Ahmedabad and Tata Administrative Service and so on. But suddenly, when I was fairly young, uh, I'm still young. I'll be only 80 years old in 6 months' time. But
Beautiful.
when I was in my 20s, I don't know, something came from inside on its own. And I started having this great urge to learn about what our ancient book said. And not only what our ancient book said, what other faiths also said, um, including things like Avestan and the Jewish faith and Bible and all kinds of things, the Quran, the Nahjul Balagha, which was given to me by one of our sponsors in Oman. All these were eye-opening things. And suddenly I got the urge to start meditating, and I started meditating, and I had some absolutely wonderful experiences. As Swamiji says, perhaps these are leftovers from a past life. And I have listed them down in my book of Living in Contentment and Dying Serene. But that led me to a realization. Do I have time to speak about these, or would you be asking more questions?
You can talk about it.
Okay. So this led me to a realization. The realization was this, that we have a lot of people saying things like, oh, be as you are divine, the God Brahma lives inside you. All these words mean nothing at all to the common man. They have heard it so many times. So what should we do? The basic thing is, my feeling is that there is a, imagine a raised highway. Okay, it is the highway of divinity. Then there are roads going under it. These are the roads of religion. Various roads of religion are there, different roads, and these, each of these roads has a ramp going up the highway. Excuse me a second. Going up the highway. Now, people don't go to those ramps because they think they'll have to leave religion and, spirituality and so on. But a book is, at the entrance of the highway, posters are required to say this is what you can expect at the end of it. Go up, nudge. You have to nudge the person towards that. You can't push them. There are scholars who give various things like Shankar Bhashya Padho and this and that. That only confuses the unwary, the innocent people, and either they get very dizzy with that or they just leave it. So the idea came that we should have a book of stories. These stories are 2 to 3 minutes long in Awaken Your Inner Self, just 2 to 3 minutes long. Each of them gives an indication what to expect if you climb that ramp onto the spiritual highway, onto the divine highway. And these stories are like those posters at the entrance of the ramps. And so the basic thing is everybody has the freedom to have a look at that, choose or not to choose. You can't push somebody there. You have to just gently nudge. And these stories are in that nature, that you are nudged towards, moving towards that ramp which will take you to divinity just by showing what you can expect at the end of that pursuit. You can reach a place where people like Mansoor al-Hala said, Ana al-Haq, I am truth. Or Nisargadatta Maharaj says, I am that. What is that? What is truth? What do you expect when you reach there? It is, nobody can explain it. You have to experience it yourself. you know Verbalization does not lead you anywhere. I mean, people say keep repeating brahmasmi, shivoham. You do it a million times and you have as much chance of becoming brahma or shiv as if you said aham vimanan and start flying. Okay, you have to practice, you have to meditate, and for that you have to climb up that ramp. And these stories are meant to take you up on that ramp, to nudge you, to show you what to expect.
You talked about, you cannot push anybody, but somebody has to choose for what they choose to do and what, they expect out of it.
Exactly.
Um, Getting from that thought, Miss Damini, how did you come to write the book about self love? Because self love is also something about you'll have to choose every day, and it's very difficult to actually choose self love every day. Looking at ourselves, or even considering, all the good and the bad parts of ourselves, how to actually accept ourselves.
Um, well, the book just happened. I mean, for me, it was a natural progression of, uh, you know, the way things have unfolded for me. So it just felt like the next thing to talk about and write about. And I say that because my entire journey has been about dealing with people struggling with a sense of self and understanding my own self, understanding, accepting people, different life situations, all of that, and basically how you still stand your ground, how you still relate to yourself in the face of so much that is happening. And the way I've been able to do it for myself, and of course the journey still continues. My job was also because I believe that this profession of psychology, being a therapist, it didn't happen by chance. There were other things that I wanted to do, but destiny steered me in a certain way, and on a certain path, and I took this because this is what I was meant to go through. I was meant to go through my own struggles, and then from that help other people as well, right?
Hmm.
So since I've been doing that for such a long time, I felt that I've been, and I'm also blessed with certain talents. I have, of course, my parents to thank for that, writing being one of them. And I felt that, if I can put something, out there in words, and that can help people in becoming a better version of themselves, and, understanding and embracing themselves, then why not? Because somebody's words helped me. A lot of people's words helped me. Of course, my own struggles did. So the attempt of writing that book was just, putting whatever little bit of wisdom I have in that consolidated form. And like you said, that it is very difficult. Yes, it is very difficult because we make it so. We are living in a society, in a culture where we are constantly told that, our ultimate job is basically to please other people, live for others, and don't think about yourself and all of that. And that's not true. The thing is that, see, we are the source of everything that is happening in our lives. Every person is connected with us because of the energy that we have. Now, if we don't learn to understand, accept, and harness that energy, we will be creating a chaotic inner and outer world. So our job is not to be in a competition with other people or to lead like an either or existence, but it's about making sure that how we are coexisting, making sure that I am equally loved and respected, and so are you. How to create that balance, basically. And self-love, it seems like, I don't know, a very fancy word or something larger than yourself. No, it's actually pretty basic. We're talking about really, really basic, fundamental things of relating to your own self, of your own existence. Like, for example, respecting yourself in a certain way, accepting yourself for who you are, the way you have been made, and whatever you can create out of that. So it's really, we're still struggling to, accept the basics. Once those things are in place and you're relatively comfortable with who you are, and, you've embraced the journey that you are on, then of course, the world is at your disposal, and you can choose wherever you want to go, however you want to be it taking a spiritual path, or be creating success in a certain area, whatever it may be. But it cannot happen without a complete acceptance of who you are. If you keep rejecting yourself, you are then not accepting life also in its full form. So that's
Right.
where the whole idea for me basically came about, and it still continues.
Right. Going through all of your books, somewhere or the other, it kind of emphasizes the need of being and living in the present a lot. Like being mindful about what we are doing, what we are eating, or how we are presenting ourselves. At the very same time, the concept of being mindful comes out to be very difficult for the general public to actually do. Like even if I want to be and live in the present, it's very difficult because somewhere or the other I will always find my mind wandering somewhere or the other. I will be thinking about something or the other. I wouldn't be able to enjoy. It's very easy for people to say ki, sit on the table, take a sip of your coffee and enjoy how it tastes like, but it's very difficult to achieve that. So what are your thoughts on this? Let's start with Mr. Kishore.
Well, my thoughts are exactly as you have mentioned. It is rather difficult to be in that moment. I just wrote these few lines a few days back. Uh, कोई लम्हे पकड़ नहीं सकता, कोई लम्हे थाम नहीं सकता, सब समझाते हैं मुझे, अ, मैंने पकड़ रखे हैं कुछ अपने दिल में, कभी हंसाते हैं मुझे, कभी रुलाते हैं मुझे. This happens.
Beautiful.
You you
Beautiful.
you
Yeah.
you can't not live in the past, but as Damini ji says, we have to live in the present, because the past is past. Let's face it, it's not going to come back. We have to live in the present, and living in the present means being who you are, who you
Mhm.
really are. And as she said, loving yourself for it. People who do not like themselves, who have this guilt complex, or who keep thinking that, look, I am worth nothing, मैं तो आपके जूते की मिट्टी हूँ, all that nonsense is what is their undoing. Unless you can love yourself, you cannot love the world. Is that right, Damini?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right. So, and Dr. Sen, I had this very tragic experience with a boss of mine who had Alzheimer's. Mr. Mustafa Sultan was our first sponsor in Oman in 1976 when I went there. I spent 26 years in Oman. So he was there. And after about 15 years, I met him, and his son said that, look, he has Alzheimer's. I went to his office. He looked at me blankly. His son introduced me. He's one of your oldest friends. I shook his hand. I went out for a moment, came back. He again looked at me blankly. And every time it happened, and it was so tragic. He was such a kind, nice person. It was so tragic to see. And I'm glad you are working on that, truly.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, this is this is the challenge. This is the tsunami that is waiting. I'll keep it very short because I like to hear more, because all of you are so eloquent, and I learn every time that I listen. I would just say that every disease has various compartments. You have awareness, you have prevention, you have cure, and you have care. When it comes to Alzheimer's, unfortunately, we don't have the cure. We don't have the medicine. We will have it, but as of now, let's face the reality, we don't have it. So what we have is awareness. Only when we have awareness, we can prevent it from coming. So before I don't know where my bathroom is, that stage comes, there are certain very subtle hints, very hushed hints that Alzheimer's gives. And it's very important to capture them so that we can kind of nip it in the bud, and we can start our meditation process and the other exercises that we can do. And I'm not going to make this into a medical lecture, but I'll just give one. It usually starts with losing words. The same gentleman who used to say, I like to have an orange juice, a toast, an omelette, a porridge for breakfast, loses those words and simply says, I like to have breakfast. Now, that's a perfectly legitimate word. It escapes the attention of the family. They just think that my grandfather has gone very introspective. But the fact is, he or she is losing those easy common words and just coming up with another common word called breakfast. So in other words, it is okay not to know the capital of Italy. That is not Alzheimer's. People ask me a lot, I forget my friend's name. Is that Alzheimer's? Is the beginning? I say, no. But when you don't know what you're wearing, these glasses, and I'm asking you, Kishoreji, can you tell me what is this? I don't know that this is a glass. I forget that this is a watch. I'm not saying that's Alzheimer's, but we should pay attention. So not remembering common words is actually very important.
But what can we do?
That's only one of them.
But what can we do to counter it?
Yeah. So the counter is, whenever you come across this situation, you will know that Alzheimer's is still far away. You're still far away from, I don't know where my bathroom is. And we should take advantage of the time. That's when meditation comes into the picture. That's when those medications that we prescribe and which don't work in Alzheimer's, they will work. Because that is the beginning of the beginning of the beginning of Alzheimer's. It is still not Alzheimer's, but you're walking the path. So what I do, and in this book, what I've actually done is to give all those subtle hints that takes place. We also say that Alzheimer's starts in the bathroom, because one of the very earliest signs and symptoms that happens before Alzheimer's becomes Alzheimer's is the lack of smell. So in the bathroom, you have your favorite body cologne, and you picked it up because you love the smell of it, but now you're not smelling it. That is a very, very early sign. We also say Alzheimer's starts in a restaurant. Why? Because you can't hear, because there's so much amount of noise, but you used to hear. Because lack of hearing is also one very, very, very early sign of Alzheimer's, very tiptoe. So lack of detailed words, and the lack of smell, lack of hearing. We also say Alzheimer's starts in the morning walk. You used to take a certain path and come back home, but now you're losing the path. You're taking more time to come back home. So those are the little traps that we have, but we got to grapple it. And when you grapple it, the most important thing is to share it with your beloved, share it with your wife, share it with your brother, share it with your sister. Start the meditation. Start those little medications that we have, those little tablets which are not working when you give it in an advanced stage. So awareness, and awareness of the subtle signs and symptoms. We don't have that in India, and I'm saying this with great respect. We need more of it. Let's put it this way. We only know Alzheimer's is, I don't know where my bathroom is. Alzheimer's is, I can't recognize Kishoreji as Kishoreji. That's an advanced stage. It's very difficult to turn back. But there are many, many subtle, slender signs and symptoms that we should be aware of. And if we can get it, we can nip it in the bud.
That's very useful to know. Very useful to know. I must go through your book and see, because it should be a standard book. Everybody, especially closer to my age, should read it.
Yeah, and again, it's not about the age factor. I greatly respect. I think you're very young. Um, Alzheimer's can actually start at the age of 40. We have people who are working full time, but they're undercover Alzheimer's. They are forgetting those little detailed words, and they say, you know what, this, and they still get away with it. They can still go to the office, they can still drive, they can still, do their dresses and everything. Well, that's the beginning of Alzheimer's. So Alzheimer's is not about 80. Alzheimer's is about 40, 45, 50, 55. You're completely normal, but you have it.
Right, right.
But
And
these could be even signs of just dementia, because dementia is like a characteristics of other neurological issues also.
Yeah,
There
very,
is,
very good
yeah,
point raised, because, dementia is the whole umbrella.
yes,
Dementia means I'm forgetting, right? Now,
yeah,
dementia can be because of Parkinson's. Dementia
yes.
can be because of stroke. Dementia can be because of certain drugs. But the major cause of dementia is Alzheimer's dementia. Because in Alzheimer's dementia, the relationships are broken because I don't recognize you. So that's
Hmm.
why I say Alzheimer's is not a solitary disease, it's a family disease. It involves
Yes.
everyone. In fact, very strong literature is coming that caregivers of Alzheimer's patients are coming down with Alzheimer's. Almost like an infectious disease, this disease spreads. So you're looking at a tsunami. It's undercover, but it's all coming. So awareness is very important.
that's good to know. That's good to know. And I
Thank you.
think, as Damini said, I'm sorry, I'm not putting G because you all are kids actually, my grandchildren's age. So, as you said, being in the moment and knowing what you are doing and what you
Absolutely.
are not doing is what Dr. Sen is pointing out. Be aware of.
And
Yes.
again, to be honest, and this is becoming such an interactive, lovely session, as Ms. Damini was saying, and Kishoji, you were also talking about the mindset issue. This is and you mentioned the word, it's all nonsense. When people ask me, Dr. Sen, you talk about positivity and negativity. What the hell is negativity? And I tell them negativity means, let's say you call your daughter and you had 20 minutes of discussion. 18 minutes, you had a fantastic discussion. 2 minutes, you had a fight, but you spend the rest of the day thinking about the 2 minutes fight
Yeah.
and not the 18 minutes of wonderful discussion that you had. That's
Yes.
negativity.
No, the
Yes.
same thing I translate. In fact, my wife just unfortunately had a brain stroke about 45 days back. Now she's recovered miraculously, almost fully. But
Beautiful.
we just say that let us not focus on this 45 minutes. We've been married for 52 years, out of which 51 years and
There
so
you
many
go.
months have been
There
blissful.
you go.
So let us focus on those rather than on the
Absolutely.
last 45 days, which have been rather traumatic. So that is what means,
Yeah, and there's another wonderful thing that you or Ms. Damini said, I don't remember, to love yourself. And I tell my patients, and I'm a doctor, my patients comes quite naturally. I tell them, when was the last time you wrote yourself a love letter? It's very important to write to yourself a love letter. You're thinking of loving others, but why don't you write a love letter? Ms. Damini brought that up, and it's very important. It's so
Miss
important. It's
Damini.
therapeutic. Yeah, we talk about who's the
Yeah.
caregiver of the caregiver. Somebody has to look after us when we take care of the others. So, yeah,
And
go ahead.
It's
that's such
kind of
a
like loving yourself. So, Miss Damini, what are
Completely.
your thoughts on it?
I was just saying that, all of this is just combining so beautifully. Like when we talk about being present, and everything needs to start from now. Like now is the time, right? Because the past is already gone. Now you can't do anything about it. You don't know what the future really holds. And even if there are some possibilities that you might be grappling with, right? Or they're lurking around somewhere, you only have now to work on it. So
Mm.
building certain practices is really really important. Like we've talked about mindfulness, we've talked about meditation. It's not just when we talk about these things now, of course, when we're talking about diseases like Alzheimer's and all, we also know that small, these practices like meditation, they can have such profound impact on your brain functioning,
Absolutely.
right? Why do you want to wait till a certain age, or wait for
Exactly.
disease to strike, right? You need to start now. That's one aspect, right? And then you also said that it's very difficult, we get busy in our day-to-day lives, and we don't have time. The thing is, nobody ever has time, right? You have to create time, you have to make that time. And why would you do that if something is not important for you? Now we only don't take our time for things which are not important for us. So we are going to take our time to go for our job, or to take care of our kids, or whatever is so called necessary for us. But who has defined that necessary? We have. And in that definition, have we included ourselves? At a very basic fundamental level, we have not. We think that waking up early in the morning and taking out 20 minutes for meditation, or maybe going out for a walk, or eating well, that's not necessary at all. We can just do away with these things because other things are more important. And like what Dr. Sen said, what about the caregiver of the caregiver? What about the people who are actually doing things for other people? When you're in the position of taking on so much, taking care of other people, who is going to take care of you? Right? You can either wait for someone to come and take your responsibility, that may or may not happen, or you can start stepping up for yourself right here, right now. And that's where the whole aspect of self-love comes in. Like I said, it's not a luxury. We're not talking about a big fancy concept. We are really talking about basics of life, basics of dealing with your own self. What is your thought process towards yourself? Is it functional? Is it healthy? Or is it something that is taking you down? When you're going to people and you're saying things like what Mr. Asthana said, that but I think I'm nothing. If you are nothing, then how do you expect to carry on with your life? How do you expect to lead a fulfilling life, and also be disease free, by the way? Right? All because your mental, emotional, physical well-being, everything is connected. And when you come from a place of liking, from a place of loving yourself, because what is love? The energy of love is very nurturing. It's very giving, something that is going to help you to grow. Right? We typically associate it with the love that you receive from, say, your mom or your parents, right? The idea is it's warm and it's nurturing, it's caring, it's safe. As adults, we need to be able to do that for ourselves, so that we can create like a better, more meaningful, and of course a healthy life. So all of this is like perfectly blending with each other, and each of these things are, in my understanding, they are completely essential.
Right.
Damini, what
I just wanted to take just one add to it, because so that before I forget, and I'm talking about Alzheimer's anyway, is the 2 points that Ms. Damini mentioned, and I want to just add up to that. And she's so correct. I tell my junior doctors, if you are not happy, you cannot spread happiness. If you are not confident, you cannot spread confidence. And the other point I wanted to make is, again, I'm not going to make it a medical lecture, but this point of meditation that Kishoreji was bringing up, and Ms. Damini brought it up again and again. We have put meditation under the microscope. It is no more a belief. It is no more a thing that you seek. It's something that you pursue. The same areas of the brain that gets affected in Alzheimer's, and I'll just give you a mouthful, bear with me, like the prefrontal cortex, the left hippocampus, those are the areas that gets damaged in Alzheimer's. Those are the areas we have found that under mindfulness meditation or transcendental meditation, those are the areas that have tremendous blood activity. They have tremendous neuroplasticity, which means neuronal activity. So it's clearly proven under the microscope that meditation is, but then the thing, why it is still not yet popular? Because we are so driven by our pharmaceutical industries, and I know this is watched by many, and I'm trying, it's a sensitive topic. We are so used to this pill. With a half a glass of water, I want to drink it, and that's it. I'm going to be fine.
Yeah, it's not
meditation is a
circuiting.
process.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
No,
Meditation is a process.
I
Go ahead.
had this
Go ahead,
personal,
Kishoreji.
very intense personal experience of exactly what Damini and you are saying. Uh, just during as I mentioned, during the last 45 days, the early days were when the doctors did not know which way it will go. They were rather tense, and I had to find my center in myself. And meditation helped me get there. I mean, when I meditated, everything was clear. That fine, this is it, and we are in the here and now, and this is it. And then it it was very clear even later on that, look, I'm the primary care divider, though we have ICU nurses and so on looking after her at home, but I'm the primary caregiver. I have to take care of myself. I must keep healthy if I have to spread good health, right? So I took extra care for, meditation, all kinds of exercises, everything that had to be done. And it was such a personal experience that I can completely relate to what Dr. Sen and Damini have said just now.
Deriving from all of your conversation, at the end of the day, all of your books also speak about transformation. So when we are talking about meditation, we're also talking about how it is transforming each and every one of us. And through your books, through your stories, you have kind of led out that how this transformation happens. So, what do you think? How do you see the journey of transformation evolving in today's world? Like right now, we talked about meditation, but if you look at the youth today, if you talk to them, they're like, "हमारे पास time नहीं है. I have this much work to do. I am here. I am there." Even if you sit to meditate, it's about, your mind is wandering. You're thinking about something else. You're thinking about the next step. So how do you see this in this world today? Let's start with you, Miss Damini.
So I think there are two parts to it. One is that the whole idea of meditation is not to control your thoughts, and it's not to have a thought free mind, which a lot of people think, and then they do it once or twice, and then they don't get the result, and they think it's not working, right?
Hmm.
But you really need to go back to your basics and understand what is meditation really about, right? It's not
Hmm.
about controlling anything. It's actually about letting go of control. It's
Hmm.
just surrendering to the thought process that you have in that moment, and choosing something to focus on. Over time you train yourself to be
Hmm.
present to whatever it is. Now it could be your own breath, it could be an object that you're focusing on, but the point is it's a training that you give to yourself, where you learn to create a distance between you and your thoughts,
Hmm.
which then of course has a ripple effect in different areas of your life and the way you are showing up with yourself and others. So
Hmm.
one is that let's understand what meditation really is. That's the whole purpose. And secondly, when we're talking about transformation and how this current generation is using it, I think it's not completely fair to say that there is no transformation or there is no evolution happening, because this generation by far, and the upcoming ones, they're quite aware of different aspects of well-being, and they're quite proactive towards their own selves, right? So they want
Hmm.
to know more, they want to understand about these things, and yes, they do want to incorporate it. However, the struggle is the same whether you talk about this generation or previous or whatever, is that yes, we as human beings, we get lost in the daily hustle bustle, and we think that our entire life needs to center around roles, responsibilities, and duties. What we
Right.
need to understand is that that's one part of our life. Those
Mm-hmm.
will always be there, but and they will be variable, right? But what is the constant? Your thought process, your body, your emotional responses, you are the only constant in your life. Now
Hmm.
you need to balance this constant with those variables, right? So
Hmm.
you will never have time. You will have to create it, and you can only create time when you start becoming more intentional with your own self, that okay, what is it that I want to do? How do I want to show up? What is it that I want to create for myself, in some time from now, and what are the small steps that I can start taking from now onwards, right? So
Hmm.
some people of course have started doing it, some of us have still some catching up to do, but I mean, I can't put the blanket statement that nobody's doing it and everybody's saying that we don't have time. Yes, it's a struggle, but something or the other will always be in your way. You will be struggling with
Right.
something or the other. You still need to understand that you are, at the center of your own life. So small steps, you need to
Right.
start taking those small steps to
Hmm.
create like a healthy future for yourself in all aspects.
Right.
Uh, on meditation, can I add one thing to what Damini has just said?
Yeah, sure.
I had mentioned about the spiritual highway going above all this, and there are ramps going up. The kind of meditation which Damini has explained is extremely important at the beginning stages of that ramp. You cannot get onto that ramp of this thing that without this kind of a thing which Damini has just explained. However, when you go a bit further up on the ramp, the nature of meditation changes. And that is where many people get misled by uh, wrong teachings. For example, a small example, people say, some gurus explain or somebody explains, look, you focus at the center of your forehead. Now you people become cross-eyed trying to focus on the center of their forehead. This is all not correct. So the right way, that to find a right guide when you are halfway up the ramp or one third way up the ramp is extremely important. And beyond that, how, as Damini mentioned, you don't have to get rid of thoughts, etc., but you reach a stage where thoughts get rid of you. I mean, they are not there. The mind is completely blank, but it is blank in a very, very positive and uplifting sense. This can only be experienced. Nobody can explain it to you. And one of my stories about smelling the lotus in my book exactly mentions what happens then. So meditation has different stages. The beginning stages, as Damini mentioned, is absolutely essential for you to nudge you up the ramp. Beyond that, you have to meditate in a bit more slightly different manner, but it comes naturally if the beginning stages have been correct.
Right. What are your thoughts, Dr. Singh?
Well, yeah, I'll base two things. We're talking about meditation. I'll just touch base with one more aspect, and then I'll get an answer to your question. Regarding meditation, I have a very cute story. It's a story of just about less than a minute. So I was very young. I'm talking about when Jesus was born. I was a very young resident, and then I got called in ICU, and so there was this patient, and she was completely, in a state of semi-coma, um, and she was having a shortness of breath, which is why my nurses called me. And I figured out that she has so much amount of fluid in her belly, which we call as ascites, that is actually pushing the lungs and causing her to have shortness of breath. So I said, you know what? I need to take the fluid out. So I just gloved myself up, and she had HIV, AIDS. So, I was getting ready with my needle to draw the fluid, and it was ICU. And I said, oh my goodness, I forgot to switch off my cell phone. And as luck would have it, somebody called me. And then my cell phone started, you know, and I could not close my cell phone because I had my gloves on. But that's the interesting part. That night was 24th of December, and I had changed the tune of my cell phone to a very profound Christmas gospel. Joy to the world, the Lord hath come. And he started to play. From the corner of my eyes, I saw my patient, Gloria Sanchez, completely in a state of coma. Her eyelashes started to flutter. And then she whispered, "Is it Christmas, doctor?" I said, "It's Christmas, Gloria." She said, "Merry Christmas, doctor." I said, "Merry Christmas, Gloria." The music stopped. The phone died. She flipped back into coma. So this power of spiritual music,
Amazing.
it can reach to that area of the brain that not even medicine, and it is coming from a doctor, can reach. So I just wanted to take it away when Kishoreji and Damini were talking about this meditation. I said, I need to share this particular story. To come back to your question, absolutely. I'm going to echo what my other two speakers said. We need to juggle. We have a society, we have a profession, we have a family, we have so many other aspects, but we got only two hands. So we got to juggle this, and juggling is an art. And this art goes on forever. For that, I tell everybody, not just my patients or wherever I speak and this, have some time for meditation. Okay? You don't have to look at it spirituality. You don't look at it as a religion. Just take it as another small little medicine that you're taking. All right? It's called inward journey. It's called inward contemplation. And we go externally. We're constantly going externally. Society is external. Family is external. Profession is external. But meditation is internal. This internal journey will actually help balance the external journey that we do. That's all
And
from
this,
myself.
this is a medicine without any side effects.
Without any adverse effect, without any tolerance.
Exactly.
It's a wonderful medicine.
Yeah, yeah. So that is true.
That's lovely. Miss Dhamini, your book Time to Come Home, Sowing the Seeds of Self-Love for Lasting Happiness, has emphasized self-love as the foundation for lasting happiness. What are some unique challenges that you have noticed in helping people cultivate self-love, especially in cultures where self-love, self-sacrifice is often valued over self-care?
Well, one of the challenges you've only highlighted in your question. Yeah, so there are a lot of, issues when we talk about accepting the idea of self-love. First is, lack of understanding. We don't fully understand the meaning of the term or the concept in its entirety. So we can't, move towards embracing it. Like, and a lot of other things come in the way. Like, for example, for most people, loving yourself means that you're being very selfish. That is a general idea, general understanding that we have, right? We look at it from a perspective of being vain, being very arrogant, very self-absorbed, and the fact that if you love yourself, you will not be able to love anybody else. You will not care about them. It's only going to be you.
Mhm.
And we're talking about love. Okay, love as an emotion, it's giving, it is nurturing. The energy of love heals, it transforms. You can't equate it with selfishness in the first place. So
Mhm.
that's where the whole concept mismatch sort of comes in. And let's look at the term selfish. You are being selfish when you are actually pursuing your own agenda, fully knowing that it's hurting or harming someone,
Mhm.
and you're still going ahead and doing it. You I
Right.
can see that you're in pain, yet I'm going to do what I have to do. I'm going to run over you, I'm going to trample you, because I want to achieve what I want to achieve, right? So that
Mhm.
is what being selfish is. But let's say if you and I have gone out for dinner, and you want to have something. You're asking me, okay, will you have a burger? And I say, no, I want to take care of my health, and burger doesn't suit my system, so I want to have a salad. I'm
Mhm.
taking care of myself. I'm not complying with you. I'm not going ahead with what you are offering me. But does that mean that I'm being selfish? Am I taking your burger away? Am I throwing it somewhere? Or am I bad mouthing you because you're eating something that, doesn't gel with me or I don't want? No, right? So you have what you want to eat, and I am eating what I want to eat, with complete respect for each other's choices, right?
Mhm.
So that's the whole, in essence, that's the whole idea of self love. That you have your own space in the world.
Right.
I respect you.
Mhm.
I admire you. I accept you, and all of that. And I'm able to do the same thing for myself, because
Mhm.
why not? What is so wrong if I say that I like myself? What is so wrong if I say that, I want to be treated in a certain way? There are certain boundaries that I want to draw, because maybe I'm feeling drained, maybe certain choices don't
Mhm.
align with me. Because after all, this is my life and I have some ownership. In fact, I have complete ownership on it, right?
Mhm.
All I need to do is learn how to balance myself with my world. Now, a
Mhm.
lot of us end up thinking that it's an either or phenomena. Either, the world can be about you, which is, my relationships and people, and I have to be in complete service of them, or I can think about me. Both can't coexist. And that's
Mhm.
where we are wrong. We are already coexisting.
Mhm.
We just need to find a way to balance that. And
Right.
your love for yourself will help you to do that, right? If
Mhm.
I love myself, if I respect myself, if I understand my choices, accept myself, I will also be aware of the kind of people that I want to invite in my life.
Mhm.
What are the relationships that I want to invest in, people that I want to go all out for, right? I'll be
Right.
making those choices because I am in complete alignment with my own self. I'm not doing them mindlessly, right? Because
Right.
somebody is asking me to, or because I'm afraid that somebody is going to leave me, somebody will not accept me. No, it's coming from a well thought of place. So
Mhm.
now if I want, I can invest my complete energy in you as well, and I will not regret it. I will not resent you or me for it. And you can
Lovely.
do all of
Mhm.
that only if you are in complete touch with who you
Right.
are, the way you are, your strengths, your shortcomings, your
Mhm.
aspirations, things
Mhm.
that work for you, don't work for you, and you do all of that with respect and dignity for your own self.
It's lovely
That's
to know.
like
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
That's a lovely takeaway for all of us today. That
Can
how,
I
yeah,
add,
yeah, sure.
can I just add one thing to
Mhm.
this matter of love, this word love that Damini mentioned just now, and what meditation does to it? It's been
Right.
my experience beyond a certain stage,
Mhm.
meditation changes love into belonging.
Mhm.
Okay, uh, when when you are in deep meditation at that stage and you come out and you see a fly
Mhm.
sitting on the wall, you can feel what the fly's legs are feeling on the wall. You kick a stone, you feel inside you what the stone would have felt when you kicked it. This is for these things. When you look at somebody you love and you are in that state, you can feel every single thing that other person is feeling. It is both a positive thing and there are negative this thing. If you are not in love with yourself, as Damini
Mhm.
says, this can be devastating to you. But when you reach that state, all these things stop mattering. Love becomes belonging, and belonging to everything in the world. But that is not for the beginners on this quest, of course. But that is what
Yes.
happens. And this is what my book shows, what is the feeling you get when you reach there. And people reading it will say, I want to get there now. So that's
Mhm.
the idea.
Sir, like the experience of meditation is very subjective and it's very individualistic, you can say. Everybody experiences it differently. So through how did you approach to actually write awakening your inner self? Like how did you manage to create that sense that everybody, kind of feels the same about meditation, about those aspects?
So I will just read a review which somebody put on Amazon for this, and
Yeah.
it will explain exactly what the book is about and why I wrote it. So
Okay.
he says, Awaken Your Inner Self is not just another cumbersome book of philosophy, but a delightful bouquet of small flowers of varied shades, each inviting you to experience its unique blissful scent. Okay. And these stories guide you gently, allowing you to delve deeper based on your own attitudes and abilities. Asana is neither a guru who dictates nor the engine that drives you deeper, but just a signpost indicating you may go this way as well, leaving the choice in your hands. So you see, that was the thing. I said, to everybody has a different experience. And by the way, that is why realized seers never explain their experience to anybody, because once they explain it, everybody starts getting this expectation that what happened to them, I must get the same experience. It never happens. Everybody's experience is different. So
Right.
everybody has a choice. You These are the stories that just show you where you are headed. Okay, when you see religion in the rear view mirror, this is where you are headed ahead if you meditate. And
Mhm.
it's up to you to see how you get there, whether you want to get there. And I have explained some misunderstandings on the path also in this book so that people don't get misguided. And it's all common sense, really. And it's all,
Mhm.
all being in you, as Damini says, being complete in yourself, looking inwards.
Lovely. Dr. Sen, in your book, The Fight Against Alzheimer's: How to Prevent, Cure, Care, and Find Hope, you explore innovative approaches to combat Alzheimer's, from music therapy to meditation. Which do you feel has the greatest potential to revolutionize Alzheimer's prevention and cure, and what makes it stand out?
Well, as I said, every disease has a couple of aspects: awareness, prevention, cure, and care. In this situation, cure is very hard because we don't have the right medicine.
Right.
So prevention is very important. And in order to prevent it, awareness is very important. There are a couple of awareness points that I have said, and we got to pay attention to that. We got to help each other. When it comes to Alzheimer's, everybody's a doctor. The wife is a doctor,
Right.
the husband is a doctor, the
Hmm.
brother is a doctor. Everybody needs to know about this awareness science. And once we have the hints about something is happening, something is cooking, something is on the way, how do I prevent it? Well, we
Hmm.
have medicines which are not effective when it is advanced, but it will be effective when it is not advanced. And the other thing is about, I'm a big fan of meditation. Now, when it's meditation, you don't have to sit like a Buddha under the fig tree in a lotus posture. You can take a comfortable corner away
Hmm.
from any sound distraction and you just breathe in and breathe out.
Hmm.
There is a technique in Harvard University called the Harvard University Breathing Program. And when I was looking into it, in fact, my previous book, Why Buddha Never Had Alzheimer's, John
Hmm.
DeNinja wrote on that book, and he's the chief of Harvard's Mind Body Institute. When I was reading the Harvard breathing technique, it's exactly a cut and paste of our pranayama, which is, basically you breathe in at a certain count, you hold it at a certain count, and you let it out.
Right.
The good thing that West has done is that they have put our things that we have sought
Hmm.
and found, they put it under the microscope. And they have
Right.
actually done longitudinal studies to actually show what effects it has on the brain. Because there
Right.
is more sophisticated technology. There is a PET scan, there is a functional MRI,
Right.
there are various types of
Hmm.
technologies. So the proof is in the pudding.
Hmm.
Unless you take the pudding, you will not know how good it is. So we need to meditate. I
Hmm.
meditate, and it doesn't have to be a full half an hour, 1 hour. I can
Hmm.
give you a very interesting statistics. 80% of the CEOs in America, they meditate
Oh.
because of all that they go through. So meditation is the way to go as of now. As a
Hmm.
physician, as a scientist, of course, there's a medicine that will come. There
Hmm.
will be another pill to swallow. But for a dementia like Alzheimer's, which is so big, look at the repertoire of this disease.
Right.
It's not just about, I don't know where my bathroom is. It's about, I
Mhm.
don't know who Kishore is. I don't know who Damini is. I don't know you. I can't recognize you. So
Right.
it's much more than a single, my
So
sugar has gone up.
you're virtually a living dead.
It's likely a living dead. So to expect that a one-line prescription is going to solve all the problem is being very short-sighted. I'm hopeful, but till that time, for a disease which has such a repertoire, you need to have something like meditation, which has got an equal amount of repertoire to combat it. So my
Doctor,
take home is just close your eyes and breathe in, breathe out. A lot can be achieved with the knowledge that is not going to happen in a day.
Hmm.
A lot of my patients who are, the American populations, nothing is happening, Dr. Sen. I said, you're calling me after 7 days? You expect meditation to fix your problem in 7 days? Well, then good luck to you, right? It needs patience. Even time needs time, as we say.
Right.
the doctor, the technique of withholding the breath is called kumbhakam in
Yes.
Sanskrit, and Raman Maharshi has written a whole series of verses on that. It's a very well-known technique, and it's very useful, very useful.
I have a question from Dr. Sen. In your book, you also mentioned about how cell phones can be something that can, that was really interesting because everybody talks about cell phones to be something that is not to be looked at. It is taking away your brain cells, you are lowering your brain cells, and all those. Yeah. But you have talked in a very contrary sense. So, can you speak about it a little?
See, cell phone, if it is used judiciously, and all that I said in my book is based on my vast experience, but is also based on various research that has been done.
Mm.
If you use cell phone in an intelligent way, it's a fantastic tool. Think about it. In one shot, I can look into the geography of an area, then I can switch over and I can look into medicine. I can look into meditation. There are so many things. It's a newspaper. It's a digital newspaper, right? In the good old days, we used to encourage newspapers. We still now encourage newspapers. We have the same thing here, except that it is digital. What's the problem? The problem is if you overuse it.
Mm.
If you overuse it, then actually you're not using your own brain, you're letting something else dictate you. So addiction is actually not good. And in
Mm.
fact, there's a literature which actually says I think that was too much of a stretch. They did mention how long to use the thing, and they said about 2 hours a day, which is impossible because we use it 24 hours a day. If you can control yourself to use it 2 hours a day, it's a fantastic tool, and it
Right.
has been proved that it can actually make your brain sharper. But if you're continuously using it, then you're letting this tool control you because you're not thinking. You're not using your left hippocampus, right? So you should not use it. There was a nice little experiment that was done on London cabbies,
Mm.
like before GPS and after GPS. We have a GPS which tells you drive 300 feet, turn left, turn right, and we are constantly following the GPS. Our brain gets blunted. In the good
Yeah.
old days when we used to drive, right, we never had a GPS. We would remember how to go from A to Z. But here we
Right.
have something controlling it. So it's the same with the cell phone. If you let it control you, then we have a problem. Then you get the reverse effect. But if
Mm.
you use it with responsibility, it's a fantastic tool. And that can actually sharpen your brain, increase your repertoire.
That's a very interesting point because just interestingly, yesterday at an event, somebody had asked me this question. Of course, this was in relation to self-love in the age of social media, but it just kind of fits that, how do we love ourselves in the age of social media? And there's so much happening around here. And how do we kind of manage ourselves, in the face of all this input that we have? And, I ended up telling them the same thing, that the device doesn't control you. You just need to be intentional with how you are using it and how you're curating your feed, or how do
Perfect.
you want to really use your phone, because it's just a tool that you have. At the end of the day, it's meant for you, you're not meant for it. And it just kind of fit with what you said, so I just thought of kind of sharing
Right.
it.
Where are you
So,
based, Dr. Sen?
Where am I? I'm currently in New York.
In New York. Okay, fine. I
so
visit.
as we come to the end of this enlightening
Yes.
discussion, I would want to extend my thanks to this all the incredible guests we have today for sharing their experience, expertise, and valuable insights. Your stories and perspectives have truly enriched this conversation. Thank you for coming here today.
And
Thanks a
before
lot.
I end, I would like to thank you for being such a wonderful host
Thank
and for
you.
asking such great, relevant questions and for making it so interactive. I would like to thank Kishoreji. I would like to thank Damini ji for all your wonderful inputs. I've learned a lot and I enjoyed every second of it. Thank you.
I'll visit you. I'll visit you in New York once sooner or later.
Yeah.
My son is in Philadelphia. He runs America's largest power grid.
Okay,
So
sure.
I'll visit you there sometime.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Thank you.
everyone.